Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with BNEWS producer Sydney Bowles, reporters Chris Flaherty, Tad Stefanek, and Robert Paris, Anthony Matos with sports, Lucas Marcasoli with weather, and Gretchen Carey with the community calendar. Thank you for joining us. An equity audit of the Burlington Public School System has been delivered to school administrators. First expected in October of last year, the 40-page report presents data and first-hand experiences around issues like race, gender, sexuality, religion, language, and neurodiversity. The findings are complex. Majorities of students, parents, and teachers said Burlington schools were welcoming and effective communities, but some people reported instances where more work could be done. Students of color reported feeling excluded by white peers. Other students reported that discriminatory language against LGBTQ was, quote, prevalent, especially at the middle school level. The comment came after an incident this past June when students protested an LGBTQ Pride Day at Marshall Simons Middle School. In a summary of responses received from at least 5 teachers, the report said, and read, and I quote, "There has been an increased presence of intolerance and bigotry demonstrated in our school community, and staff do not know how to intervene." The report was clear that the school administrators are committed to equity work, but that work remains. Now that the report has been released, Superintendent Conti said he expects to fill a position for DEI director for the district. Many of us have had our eyes on the Middle East this week amid news of Hamas' attack on Israel. A local parent, Jamie Greitzer, took a moment to ask the school system for more support this week. Let's listen.
The Jewish people of Burlington have connections to the people that are suffering right now, and our children are suffering, and they know something's going on. We're developmentally appropriate language for them. They know something scary and bad's going on. And I would have suspected, an email, some kind of announcement, like we have in the past from Dr. Conti, acknowledging what had happened, standing against what had happened, and talking to us about the resources that our children can access while they're going through this really scary time in their lives. And I haven't heard anything.
Superintendent Conti had this response.
I can, and Ms. Greitzer.
First by apologizing for not putting something out. I think our first response was to actually focus on safety first, and we have had members of the community reach out to us and offer to provide resources for students who were troubled. So I do think I am late on getting something out in terms of resources to families. I'll work on that and try to get that out as soon as possible. But again, our initial response was to talk about what our safety protocols would be. And you mentioned that I may not have an idea of the level of tragedy and trauma that you're experiencing, and that may be the case. So I apologize for that.
For more on this, BNews producer Sydney Bowles spoke with Rabbi Susan Abramson about the toll this news has taken on Burlington's Jewish community. You can listen to that conversation on the BNews podcast, The Burlington Brief. The link for that is on our website, bcattv.org. Every year, the Recreation Commission honors members of the community who have contributed to the cause of fun and festivities. Robert Paris attended the most recent introduction ceremony and has this report.
The Recreation Commission inducted 4 new members to their Hall of Fame on October 2nd. Herb Chamber Family of Dealerships and former employee Doug Gillingham were not present at the ceremony, but Brendan Egan talked very highly of their work.
Herb Chambers Family of Dealerships has been a title sponsor of the fireworks at Celebrate Burlington since 2010. It is one of those events that people look forward to as part of Celebrate Burlington as Celebrate Burlington expanded and grew. Each year, donates to the cause, and we work closely with Jerry Salois, the general manager at the Honda dealership, always willing to work with us and advocate for us with Mr. Chambers. Doug worked for the department for 42 years for the town and for the department, and was our former recreation maintenance director. He would volunteer for any event going on in town. We are very thankful that he was a part of our team throughout the years.
I spoke with Mark Sherwood, former rec commissioner, and Steve Nugent, who is a community partner with the Parks and Rec and owner of Steve Nugent Karate Institute.
You don't think of anything but trying to do your best, and want to be part of the team. Good time because we all the commissioners and the full-time staff work together, to do the best we could and provide the most programs that we could.
It's really special, and like I said in the speech there, it's just amazing that it's been 31 years with the Recreation Department. And not only was I able to thank the people of the Recreation Department, but ultimately, you got to thank the people of Burlington. It's one thing to have a business or whatever, but when your business deals with children, parents are entrusting you with their kids, it's a big deal. So not only do I want to thank the Recreation Department, but I really have to thank the people of the town of Burlington who have been so supportive of me.
The next induction will be in 2025. From the school committee room, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Weekly.
The Burlington Select Board is seeking residents who are interested in serving the community. This role is as a member of the Police Station Building Committee. The committee will advise the Select Board and Town Administration on all aspects of the project to replace the police station. The current structure was built in the 1890s and served as the Union School for many years, was subsequently refurbished as a Bank of Boston building, and then became the police station a number of years ago. The police station is expected to be placed on the same lot, with a likely expansion into the area currently occupied by the sculpture park. The committee is expected to have bi-weekly daytime hybrid meetings in person with a remote option. Details of the application process are available on our website, bcattv.org. For the first time, Burlington community member Chris Fabry is planning a Miles for Mental Health walk run in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in October. The event aims to connect Burlington and surrounding communities in the name of mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Everyone is invited to walk, jog, or run, anything from a single lap of the track to a full 5K at the Marshall Simons Middle School on Saturday, October 15th, tomorrow, beginning at 10 a.m. Speaking of upcoming events, Herb Chambers Kia of Burlington is hosting a community meeting next week to discuss their plans for a renovation. The meeting comes after the dealership went to town meeting to ask for a zoning change that would allow them to expand, but an attorney for the company asked to withdraw the warrant article because of a last-minute letter opposing the move sent by nearby residents. The planned dealership would modernize curb cuts, add new landscaping, and incorporate more parking into the building. Residents worry the changes would impact safety and bring more traffic to the area. They would also occupy the adjacent printing business. The community meeting is meant just for immediate neighbors, and it's scheduled for Wednesday evening. 50 years of anything is a cause for celebration, a job or marriage, certainly, but what about 50 years in town government? Robert Paris has the story of a local official who just surpassed her semi-centennial.
For 50 years, Millie Nash has been a Burlington town meeting member. I stopped by Nash's house to reminisce all the changes she has seen since taking her seat in 1973.
I had not lived in Burlington that long. It was 1973. My next door neighbor said, "We need to have representation in town meeting. You should be it, Millie." And I said, "But I'm new in town. I have kids. I don't know anybody." And she said, "Well, don't worry about that. My kids will babysit your kids, and I will run your campaign. And all you have to remember is don't vote for yourself because you've never voted for a winner." And here I am 50 years later. But I love that story because she and I were on the opposite side of almost every political issue, but we got along. We remained in touch even though they had lived in California for the last 40 years. And I think that that is so what's missing today in politics, where one side and the other just can't seem to talk together or remain friendly.
Millie has seen and listened to a variety of different moderators over the years.
There was Bob Gordon, and then there was Tom Murphy, who died, I think, just recently. And I think then after that, there may have been a few others. I remember Phil Gallagher, and he and I were sometimes friends and sometimes not so friendly. And then Sally Willard, who was the first woman to be elected. And I think Charlie Murphy was for a short time moderator. And there may have been some others. And then there's Bill Byer. I think he's doing a good job, and I don't envy him because I think he is about as familiar with the technology as I am, and to have to cope through COVID.
Millie praised Town Clerk Amy Warfield for her efforts in putting together the first ever outside town meeting in the spring of 2020.
She had planned for everything. When we came into town meeting, they gave us bags, a bug repellent, had a bottle of water, had all the kinds of things. And poor Amy looked like she was just worn out from making this happen, to the point that I afterwards phoned her to tell her what a good job she had done, and to tell her that I had half hoped it might rain a little bit at 8:30 because I was sure she had a contingency plan if we knew what it was. So
Millie encouraged everyone to get involved in town government.
It's really important in towns that the people pay attention to the government, and when something isn't right, they do something about it, because we all can make a difference. And our Dirty Dozen case always gave me the feeling that I lose a lot of cases, but when you speak up about things that aren't right, even when you lose, the people who are doing the thing that you wish they weren't doing are a little bit more circumspect than they would be if nobody was paying attention.
Millie's term is set to expire in the spring of 24. She says she is considering re-election.
I am not getting any younger, but I would miss it, and I realize that sometimes we have trouble filling the seats. So if anybody who's interested would be glad to replace me, I might retire. But since I can walk to town meeting at the high school, I'm afraid I might run for re-election yet again.
From Millie Nash's porch, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS.
Millie Nash is irreplaceable. Nothing says fall in New England like a good old pumpkin, and the Monaco family here in Burlington has been growing a giant one. Chris Flaherty has the story.
It's pumpkin season, Charlie Brown. While plenty of them will be popping up around town in the coming weeks, you probably won't see many of this size. This larger-than-life pumpkin was grown by the Monaco family, with the first seeds being planted back in April this year. Father Paul Monaco has had a green thumb since childhood.
When I was a kid, my dad spearheaded the community garden project for Burlington, and I just had really positive experience with it. They grew some pumpkins there, and then I visited the Topsfield Fair a couple of times as I got older. So when we moved back into town, I figured that I should just start growing them. So I looked out the window one day and came up with it and got back into it again, and hopefully the kids like it the way that I did when I was young. You know, you get special seeds and you just do everything a little bit more. Even as a beginner, if you get the right kind of seeds and you do most things right and you keep a healthy plant for most of the season, you can get some stuff that'll grow pretty fast.
It takes the whole family working together to grow a pumpkin this size. What was the best part of growing this pumpkin?
When my dad, he brought me outside, he let me cut all this stuff and do most of the work. The favorite part was when we got to plant the pumpkin seed.
The pumpkin has become quite popular in the neighborhood and attracted the attention of the larger Burlington community.
This morning, a bunch of strangers were out here taking pictures. I actually looked out the window and heard a bunch of guys saying, "Oh my God, it's huge!" And so he's got a lot of interest in the neighborhood, but a lot of passerbys stop and take some pictures too.
The Monacos made their way to Topsfield Fair with the pumpkin last month, where it came in 8th place, weighing in at 749 pounds. So what's next for this grandiose gourd?
I want to carve it, and I want to try to make pumpkin pie with it or something. And then I want to after I go trick-or-treating, I want to put all my candy in it.
How about you, Frank?
I want to take the top off and scoop out the inside so we can use it for Halloween to get a huge pumpkin. I think that they should just like go trick-or-treating, get a lot of candy, and then put it in the pumpkin and maybe save their candy. Make the largest pumpkin pie ever.
We hope it lasts till the Pine Glen trunk or treat so that we can bring it for our car decoration.
Yeah, that was the hope. Eva was hoping we could get a Topsfield Fair way off and a trunk or treat at Pine Glen, so we'll see.
Gardening is an enriching and educational activity for the whole family.
It's a great activity to do with kids. It really helps feel connected with nature, and it kind of instills that in kids and shows them that if you stick with something for a while, cool things happen. So, no, just do it.
I don't always see the benefit of the end result in the beginning, and it is a lot of painstaking hours and time every day. But watching the kids come out here and just get so excited about it, it's a pretty cool end result.
What are some other giant vegetables you would like to grow?
Well, I'd like to start growing strawberries, or attempt to again. Strawberries and blueberries. I would grow a lemon. Cucumber.
Until next time, this is Chris Flaherty for BNEWS Weekly.
If you've driven by the Francis Wyman house recently, you may have noticed something new, a couple of logs sticking high up in the air with another log dangling above a well. It's a device called a well sweep, and after a decade of effort, the Francis Wyman Association has rebuilt one at the historic property. Sydney Bowles has more.
A well sweep is essentially a giant lever that uses a stone as a counterbalance. John Wyman, the president of the Francis Wyman Association, attaches a wooden bucket to the iron hook and lowers the bucket into a 10-foot deep well. And as he does, the stone rises behind him. When he's ready to lift up the bucket, the stone and gravity do the heavy lifting for him. The project has been more than a decade in the making.
Well, it's quite an accomplishment. Like I said, it took us 15 years of planning and design and fundraising to get it done. And just to see it in operation is really, really fulfilling.
The project began with a conceptual design in August of 2010. The association sourced a white oak trunk from the Francis Wyman site for the main post of the well sweep and worked with an iron worker to manufacture the fittings.
Wound up costing us about $56,000 between the architect, and we had to do an archaeological dig. We had to do a survey and document it and submit a request to the Mass Historic Commission to make sure it was okay with them that we do it.
John says the Wyman House is one of the oldest remaining residences in New England.
For Burlington, it's a great resource to learn about history and learn about colonial history and the Revolutionary War. So it's important to the town.
From the Francis Wyman House, I'm Sydney Bowles.
After an elaborate renovation, Legal Seafoods is back in Burlington with their pier-to-plate menu of seafood specialties. Sonia Rollins of the Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce takes us behind the scenes to learn about one item on the menu. The full episode is on our website. We wanted to bring you, shall we say, just a taste.
So today we're going to demonstrate and cook for you a lobster mac and cheese, one of our signature dishes here. Definitely New England style cheese. It's going to be hearty and it's going to be great. Cavatappi pasta that we have, put in our rolling boil water, lightly seasoned water. 1.75 lobster meat we shuck to order. It's already here. And then over here we have the cavity that we take all the meat from, and then we're going to stuff it into the cavity and we bake it with the cheese sauce and breadcrumbs. You know, a lot of people eat with their eyes, right? So we want to make sure that not only we're serving the freshest quality food we have, but also on the plate you want it to be a wow factor. With our nice cheese sauce, we put our lobster in, eat right here. You want to mix it up, make sure you're getting all the flavors and everything mixed.
Legal Seafoods, when you ordered fried food here, it's gluten-free, correct?
It's all gluten-free. So our fryer leaders are 100% gluten-free. And then the dishes that are, some of the dishes that complement the sauces that don't have gluten in it, we can definitely put that on the side or make a gluten-free sauce for you. So absolutely. Yeah. We get our lobster mac with the sauce with the cheese. And then we come over here and we stuff it as much as possible as we can into the cavity of our lobster.
Some people may consider snakes to be scary, present company included, but the Burlington Science Center's Sarah Fleischman says that's exactly why we ought to take the time to learn about them. Sydney Bowles has this story.
Burlington Science Center is home to lots of different animals, from cuddly ones to animals that some people might consider scary, like snakes. That includes Charlie, the corn snake.
This is actually a native animal here in the United States, central and eastern U.S. Charlie is, as you can see, sticking his tongue out constantly over and over again. And this is so important in reptiles, specifically snakes and lizards, and that's because he's smelling. They smell with their tongue. He does have a nose. He has little holes on the end of his face. They're very, very hard to see. But he doesn't use those to smell. He uses his tongue. So every time a snake sticks out their tongue, they are smelling the world around them.
Charlie's job is to be a class pet for Burlington Elementary students and to tag along on annual field trips to help students learn about reptiles. Sarah teaches about all the ways reptiles' bodies are unique.
The skull of a snake is very amazing, and you can see that the teeth bend backwards, which allows him to grab his food almost like a hook and kind of pull it into his stomach. The other question is, what does the rest of his body look like? And you can take a look at that. He is mostly spine and mostly ribs. Now, their bones, although interesting, are not the coolest thing about snakes or reptiles in general, since everybody knows that snakes and reptiles are known for their skin. Now, this is from our snakes, and we get tons of them all the time. They are constantly shedding, and all shedding means is that the animal is growing. Snakes will grow until the day they die. The most important thing that we want kids, adults, anybody to take away is that just because something might be scary or unknown doesn't mean that we can't learn about it. Snakes are animals that when people think about them, they think, ew, no, scary. And, you know, when I first started working here as a high school student, I thought that way too, until I had one placed in my hand. And it just changes things.
Now it's the moment you've all been waiting for, says Anthony. Your update on the latest in Burlington sports. Here's Anthony Matos with the details.
Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Matos. This is your weekly sports report. Red Devil football competed in Wilmington on October 6th. BCAT volunteer Bill Hayes brings you these highlights.
The Red Devils traveled to Wilmington last week to face the Wildcats. Both teams were 3-1 and looking to stay atop of the Freedom Division in the Middlesex League. After a scoreless first period, the Devils, in their away whites, opened the scoring in the second quarter. Senior Joe Poland scored on an 85-yard touchdown run. Burlington made a successful two-point conversion to make the score 8-0. Wilmington did not take long to answer as Wildcat Nick Iascone scored on a 1-yard touchdown, bringing the score to 8-6. Wilmington tied the game after they had a successful two-point conversion. Still in the second, Poland again found the end zone after a 71-yard touchdown run. That was Poland's third touchdown run of 70-plus yards in the last two games. The score was 15-8 after the extra point. Wilmington tied the score with 49 seconds left in the first half on a pass to the end zone to Connor Lovell. 15 all after the PAT. With 1 second left in the half, kicker Josh Pupa attempted a successful 38-yard field goal, giving the Devils the lead at halftime, 18-15. Wilmington was back on top after a TD pass to Tiago Gomez to give the Wildcats the lead 22-18 after the extra point. The score remained the same until the fourth quarter. Joe Poland found the end zone once again with a 6-yard run, giving the Devils the lead 25-22 after the extra point. But the Wildcats were not going down without a fight, as they found a way to score with 23 seconds remaining in the game, 29-25 after the PAT. The Devils made a valiant effort at the finish. Unfortunately, Anthony Guerrier's pass to the end zone fell incomplete as time expired. Final score 29-25 Wildcats. Tough loss for the Devils. Next stop is another road game on October 13th at Fred Green Memorial Field in Melrose.
As Bill Hayes mentioned, Burlington is in Melrose this week. Highlights next week. The Junior Devils football team competed with Arlington High School on October 11th in a shutout win of 36-0. Burlington stays undefeated and will be back at Marshall Simons on October 18th against Woburn. Keep up the great work, Devs. Lady Devils field hockey are 3-8 after a loss to Belmont 7-1 on October 5th. The lone goal in the game was made by senior Kelsey Condon. Burlington had a huge win over Woburn, shutting them out 7-0 on October 12th. Goals in the game were made by senior captain Mia Lauder, who had 2, sophomore Sloan Wilson, who had 2, and senior captain Renee Lecomte, who had 3. Stoneham won over the Devils 2-0 on Varsity Field on October 12th. Red Devil Golf is at the Lexington Golf Club on October 4th, but they had another loss of 45-27. The Arlington Spy Pounders defeated the Devils on October 6th, 44-28. Burlington had a 41-31 win over the Wildcats in the 11th, moving their record to 3-9. Devils will compete with Billerica on October 13th. We'll have updates next week. Lady Devils Volleyball are back in the win column on October 4th in Arlington with a 3-1 win. On the 6th, they lost by a set point of 3-2 against Belmont. They shut out Woburn 3-0 on October 10th. The Spike Out Cancer game against Stoneham is on October 13th. We'll have a feature and highlights from the game next week. Boys soccer competed with Arlington Spy Pounders on October 5th. We go to the highlights.
The Red Devil soccer team against the Spy Pounders of Arlington. In half one, the Spy Pounders got on the board first, 1-0. The score remained like this until half two. Eunice Heineke tied up the game for the Devils in the second, 1-1. Arlington took back the lead 2-1 later on in the second. Final 2-1 Arlington.
It was a busy weekend as the team competed with Methuen on October 7th and Belmont on the 9th. The Devs lost both those matches 1-0 with Methuen and 3-0 in Belmont. The girls soccer team was shut out 3-0 in their games against Arlington on the 5th and Belmont on the 9th. Burlington lost 2-0 against Woburn at Connolly Memorial Stadium on the 11th. Soccer night will be the 13th against Stoneham High School. Stay tuned for highlights next week. Both cross-country teams will be back in action October 17th. They will host Watertown at Varsity Field. The combined Woburn and Burlington girls swim team meet with Belmont on the 11th, where they lost 103-67. Riley McCarthy were qualified for the sectional championship in the 500 free with a time of 5:56.33. Wakefield is the next opponent on the 12th. As is taping, the results have not been posted. For more Red Devil action, go to bcattv.org/sports and check out our Twitter page at BNEWS Sports. That's all for now. I'm Anthony Matos. Back to you guys in the studio.
Let's check in with the weather for this week. Lucas Marcasoli is filling in for Peter Brown. And stay tuned for your community calendar with Gretchen Carey.
Hello everybody and welcome to your weather update. I'm Lucas Marcasoli filling in for Peter Brown, and this is this week's weather. Temperatures should be around 50s and 60s this week, with highs near 70 towards the end of the week. We have a mix of sun and clouds over the weekend with some rain expected midweek, but that should clear up nicely as we get towards next Thursday and Friday. The best day this week should be Thursday. That's my pick of the week. So get out there and enjoy some seasonably cool weather, pick some apples, and enjoy.
Hey everyone, I'm Gretchen Carey, and this is your Community Calendar. On October 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the Burlington Public Library will be having their fall book sale. For more information, go to burlingtonpubliclibrary.org. On October 21st, from 7 to 9:30 p.m., the United Church of Christ will be having a fall coffee house music night. Homemade fall treats, cider, tea, and of course coffee will be served. Tickets will be available at Coffee Hour or from special music committee members or at the church office by calling 781-272-4547. Also, on October 21st from 3 to 6 p.m., Shawsheen Tech will be having their Trunk or Treat. Admission is open to anyone at $5 per child. This event will happen rain or shine. Let's go to bcattv.org, burlingtonpubliclibrary.org, and burlingtonrecreation.org. I'm Gretchen Carey, your Community Calendar.
As we do every week, we're finishing up with a photo sent in by a member of the community. This week's photo comes in from Steve Warren, and it's of the sun setting not too far from here over at UMass Amherst. Thank you, Steve. If you have a photo you'd like to see featured on BNews, email it to us at bcats@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. That's it for our program this week. This is Friday, so it's a little late notice, but Saturday the Board of Health is having a flu clinic. It's flu season. It's Saturday, October 14th at Grandview Farm from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's it from the news desk. I'm Phil Gallagher. Thank you for joining us.